A statistically unremarkable middle American family on holiday drives along the outskirts of El Paso, Texas, a town composed entirely of outskirts, looking for a place called Valley Lodge. Because when you think vacation, you instantly think rural Texas scrubland. They follow a promising sign past some parked smoochers who pause long enough to issue an ominous portent.
I wonder where they're going.
Man, like there's nothing up that road.
Hit a dead end, and then double back to see a rundown shack that has apparently materialized from thin air.
Where did this place come from? It wasn't here a few minutes ago.
There they meet a doorman of sorts, Torgo, a pitiful figure with an array of maladies. A quavering voice, elephantiasis of the knees, a wobbling gait, and a penchant for disconcerting offhand comments.
There is no way out of here. It will be dark soon. There is no way out of here.
Though the matriarch, Margaret, is apprehensive, and Torgo affirms that someone named the Master frowns on their presence, the patriarch, Michael, convinces the reluctant Torgo to let the family stay in the shack for the night. There's trouble right away. The shack's decor is done in late Ed Gein, with a hideous blackened idol on the mantel and a bleak painting of the Master with a hellish Doberman above the fireplace. The family dog, Teppy, escapes, and when Michael investigates, he finds the poor pooch dead on the ground outside. He and a despondent Margaret foolishly decide to keep this from their daughter Debbie and claim that Teppy has run off and is bound to return. This prompts Debbie to strike out in search of her beloved dog, and the couple's panic on discovering she has vanished is only compounded when she turns up again in thrall of the beast from the shack's gruesome painting.
Mike, it's the dog from the portrait.
Stand back, Debbie, stand back!
Don't cry, Daddy.
Debbie claims to have seen strange goings-on behind the shack.
There was a big fireplace. It was so dark, but I wasn't afraid of the dark. I heard all kinds of funny people in it.
Following her lead, the family finds a makeshift outdoor temple with an altar, a burning pyre, and concrete poles to which several hypnotized women are bound. As, terrified, Margaret and Debbie barricade themselves in the shack, Michael goes to confront Torgo. Meanwhile, we finally meet the Master, a malevolent priest who worships the god Manos and keeps the women as a harem. Nursing a sexual fascination with Margaret, Torgo rebels against the Master, to whom he is plainly enslaved, and the stage is set for a dark ritual. Will Torgo pay for his transgression? Will the family be enthralled to the Cult of Manos for eternity? Or will they find a way to save themselves? Made on a dare and a shoestring by fertilizer salesman Hal Warren, Manos, The Hands of Fate, has come to arguably supplant Plan 9 from Outer Space as the world's worst movie since Mystery Science Theater 3000 plucked the film from obscurity in the early 90s. Since then, the movie has been the subject of a documentary and at least 2 stage adaptations. It also has a 4,000-word Wikipedia entry. I won't repeat the stories of its making here, the actor playing Torgo's notorious drug problems and subsequent suicide, his disastrous debut, director Hal Warren's alleged prima donnaism, except to wonder aloud what our fascination with this movie is. Manos isn't just bad the way, say, Battlefield Earth is bad. Manos is bad in a way that haunts you. It leaves you asking, why? An LA Times article about Manos comes close to an answer. In Why We Love Bad Movies, Dan Neal muses that it, quote, has to do with intimacy. Because Manos is such a pure slice of Warren's brain, he wrote, directed, produced, and starred, and brooked no collaboration. Manos amounts to the man's cinematically transfigured subconscious. I think extra-low-budget movies financed by eccentrics are often like this. Cinema is essentially an adaptation of the dream state, but technical proficiency usually masks the medium's underlying surrealism. Lighting, synced sound, transparent shot sequencing, and the rest establish narrative. And narrative dispels the dream state, since dreams are the opposite of stories. They're impulses translated haphazardly into image. I grew up in Houston and Fort Worth and had a very Manos-y dream as a child about Debbie's age, long before I ever saw the movie. I was exploring the limitless Texas flatlands and found a huge Mayan-like statue hidden there. When I woke up, I tried to get my grandmother to help me look for it, and she had to tell me it wasn't real. I don't think it's an accident that the state's flat terrain led to such a hallucinatory dream. nor that writers and directors from E.M. Forster to Paul Bowles to Antonioni were transfixed by the desert as a place where reason breaks down, where the ordered mind is absorbed into the blank slate. One wonders if the Texas plains had a similar effect on Warren, whether Manos is like a dream the land brought on in him. If I were in a dream workshop and Warren described having a nightmare featuring the events and settings of Manos, I'd probably say his dreams seemed to be about repressed sexuality finding expression through fantasy. The couple making out in the car are Manos' only example of essentially healthy, that is, reciprocal, consensual, non-perverse desire. They mark a gate of sorts beyond which quotidian reality devolves into changeable irrational fantasy. The road past them leads nowhere, but once you travel it, you never can return. Features, like Torgo's shack, appear and vanish at random, and menacing supernatural creatures haunt the dark woods.
Oh my God. Mike, what was that?
Probably some animal in the desert. Nothing to be afraid of.
Scared, Mike.
The couple, too, seem to neck into perpetuity, echoing the changelessness characteristic of mythical gatekeepers in Greek and other legend. Scylla and Charybdis standing eternally over the Strait of Messina, the troll hunched eternally under his bridge. Once inside this beyond, the family, the pre-Oedipal daughter and the asexual couple, who never once show mutual desire but instead bicker constantly, find themselves in a sexual phantasmagoria where the tension between desire and repression is endlessly played out. Again, echoes of Greek myth. Torgo, we learn, is meant with his bowed knees and cloven hooves to be not a devil but a satyr. And from here, it's possible to think of the master's captive wives as nymphs, the natural objects of the satyr's desire. In myth, it is the satyr's role to forever court the nymph, hers to arbitrarily reject or assent to his advances at the dictate of her own capricious heart. And the women do themselves desire. When freed from their hypnosis, one of them ties up an unconscious Michael and molests him. But the rituals of Manos and the over-controlling master repress these natural wants, this natural order. The result is perversion and ultimately violence. If all this seems a bit too fancy a reading to attach to an incoherent movie made by an incompetent, consider that if you give an ounce of credence to Freud, dreams are the most revealing when furthest from their author's will, when the dreamer finds them baffling. For this reason, dream interpretation is close to the opposite of film interpretation, the effort to discern a cinematic auteur's intentions. Manos, it seems to me, can be thought of as a complex fascination channeled through an uncomplicated man. And if this interpretation seems overwrought, at least it helps to explain why so many of us are fascinated by the movie, too.
Manos, God of primal darkness, as thou hast decreed, so have I done. The hands of fate have doomed this man. Thy will is done.